It's v.h.s.x. What do you mean?
All right, everybody, welcome back. I wanted to talk about another forum post because I think this is a pretty interesting topic that we can cover here. And it says a general lack of sympathy from ignorance. So let's get into it. So it says, I've seen that this game has an issue with players having a lack of sympathy toward the other roles, which I have to say this is beyond obvious, because that is the state of the DBD community. They say, for example, if a killer complains about the game being survivor-sided, which it is, and bully squads and gen rushing, they get so many unsympathetic comments about how they need to get good. Which is just, you know, as I've covered before, it's a lot of gaslighting involved in that. Like, there is a little couple of grains of truth in the fact that there is a lot of people that could improve and should improve at killer and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is the survivor players will also gaslight you as well. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. If you hear from a killer player themselves that mains killer, that'd be like, yo, you got to get better at the game. Here's how. You probably have a much better chance of improving than a survivor player trying to tell you how to play the game when they have zero idea as to what the hell they're doing, because they don't even take the time out to learn their own side. So what makes you think they're going to know anything? Okay, so they say survivors complain about killers tunneling, slugging, and running full slowdown, which killers immediately say they have to, which they kind of need to, but that's besides the point. To well, I guess they meant to say like they should also get good, which they should, but they don't. They say, I feel that this comes from ignorance. My suggestion, go play the other role for a few hours. And let's see how bad it is to be tunneled or slugged at 5 gens by Myers. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if, oh, you've experienced being tunneled and slugged at 5. Like, it's just a single match. Move on to your next, dog. Like, let's really not make it bigger than it is. All right? Because at the end of the day, if you're getting tunneled, then, and your teammates are not doing the objective, then it's in your hands, but even more so your teammates. Because if you're able to hold your own and chase and they're just not doing the objective, then therefore it's not your fault. You go, hey, I did my job, I held my own, they didn't do the objective, so therefore as a team they let me down. But they never think like that. They just constantly think, oh, me, oh, it's the killer's fault, me, it's the killer's fault. It's like, okay, but what about your teammates? Like, they are actively killing you, but no, it's the killer's fault. So it's stupid. Survivors see how miserable it is to face a bully squad, have 2 gens pop by first hook or get teabagged at the exit gate. Now, the thing is with survivor players is that they'll play one single game of killer, and then they'll and like at least the ones that we're referring to, that is, these particular survivor players that do have these kinds of perspectives and commentaries and over forums and things, they only play one game of survivor and then, or rather killer, I should say, and then they just think, oh my god, killer's so easy. It's like, MMR exists. Like, hello. Like, why do they forget that MMR exists all of a sudden when it's convenient? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And then we also see a lot of the I play both sides, which I just kind of check out the second I read that, because it's like, you can play whatever the hell you want, but at the end of the day, you're gonna play more of one than the other. That's just how it goes. Now, I've only heard maybe very few cases, I would say, where it's genuinely 50% spread between the two. I've actually heard and seen that before with evidence. That was crazy. I go, yo, this person genuinely is playing both sides equally. Like, that is confirmed. But most of the time when you see the hours or whatever have you, usually it's a little bit more than the other. So look at this person, you know, is saying, who is a survivor main. They play Billy. They say it's a palate cleanser, which that's not how you spell palate in this context. It says, tend to just goof around with survivors and while still getting downs when I get curves off. This is just my own personal experience, but I think it's because I'm not worried about how many kills or hooks I get. I just want to curve around map as Billy. Exactly. So this is how I view playing survivor. I personally just don't enjoy it at all, but when I do, you know, or say 2v8 for example, if I have to play survivor, I'm like, whatever, you just got to get through it. But I really don't care if I die, because it's like, it's just not important to me. But I think it's because they play so much survivor, they're like, I gotta escape. It's, they say, I think the bigger problem is that some players, mostly on the killer side, take the game too seriously and feel that anything less than 100% win rate is unacceptable. Survivor players who feel this way will likely turn to the killer role because they tire of being stomped on, and killers are naturally stronger. Not necessarily, but I understand the idea that people just kind of want a 100% win rate, which is I would say mathematically impossible. I mean, you're gonna lose eventually, and that's why even players like myself, or even players like Druss and Bubba, for example, Pigmain, having like a 3% loss rate is pretty good. Like you go, yo, like 90 something wins, like percent, goddamn. 3% win rate, or not win rate, loss rate, that's crazy. You go, whoa, like this guy must be freaking good. But obviously that's not with everybody. Like not everybody has the free time to be doing that, and is able to do that. So this person says, I think playing the other role only changes perspective if someone genuinely wants to understand it. If the attitude comes from not really caring in the first place, trying the role once or twice won't change their mindset. This is 100% true. This is 100% true. I even heard a lot of people say this perspective, oh, they gotta play the other side, and it's like that doesn't really solve the problem. Because at least from my perspective, I don't think that you need to like play and experience exactly what happened to understand why things get done. Now, speaking for myself, I've already played 400 hours of Survivor according to DBD stats in total, right? So that I already have experienced probably everything there is that I could find, like experience on the game at that point on Survivor. And I go, I just don't think it's interesting. I find it boring. I just want to move on and play something else, right? But I can already say, look, like, sure, if you don't know what you're doing and you're getting tunneled, I mean, that's just, it's unfortunate, but that's the sad reality of how it works. Like they're gonna find the weak link. If they're trying to win their game, that's just how it goes. You can't expect everybody to play the way that you want them to, and that's usually my response. Now, when it comes to Killer, it's like, you know, and I hear that experience, like, oh yeah, that's also understandable and relatable, but we also have to take into account what happened in that match, and that's why I do match reviews. That's why I offer coaching. That's why I have these these things, and I've even covered my own matches in the past, doing commentaries to kind of show where I messed up, so that you guys who are watching could learn and improve as well as I can, right? Because then I could go, hey, look, you could take the good parts that I've messed up, you know, from the good stuff that I did, and then the parts I messed up on, just don't do that. You'll improve instantly, right? But anyway, so they say they will just go back to their main role and dismiss everything. I've seen this with a streamer who played Killer for years and recently started playing Survivor. They seem to understand both sides equally. At the same time, when playing Survivor, they run strong perk builds, even though they criticize those same perks when defacing them as Killer. That kind of contradiction feels normal to me, not a lack of understanding. I think it's just that how the game works. People will complain about things that feel frustrating, even if they understand why those things are being used. Well, yeah, of course. And I think that as even a Killer player who for whatever reason goes on Survivor, I'm gonna put on what I think is the most BS shit that I've faced, because I go, hey, that means it's my turn to use this shit. Like, I could use it now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just gonna do it, because it's like, if I'm going to have to play this, I might as well try to get the most out of it. And as a result, I'll get even more information about how broken it is. It only will reinforce my thought that, say, this perk is stupid and ridiculous. You know what I mean? This person says, I wager most players play both sides and simply have a preference. I agree with that too. You know, I'm one of the very few that just don't enjoy both sides. I only enjoy the one I play, and that's just what it is. I mean, I'm not really shy about that. I'm not really you know, going to lie about that. Like, you know, I've played both sides a lot. I'm like, hey, I'm good. Like, I like what I like. So what? You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to enjoy every single thing about the freaking game. You know what I mean? You can, and that's how it works with other stuff. You don't have to like everything. You can dislike stuff. It's fine. This person says it's not a role versus role problem. It's a Swift versus everyone else. I play both solo queue and Killer, and know how miserable both of them are. Still, those who only play Swift with bully builds will never sympathize with any of those, and they will try to steer every discussion regarding Swift to the simple Survivor versus Killer, and easily manipulated solo queue players eventually start to believe that it is indeed Survivor versus Killer and not Swift versus others. And this is exactly why I mentioned that there's a lot of gaslighting that goes along in the DBD community. It's already been shown by somebody else who's saying it, not me. Look, somebody else said it. It's not me. And they're saying it too. People are trying to manipulate and steer the conversation somewhere else so that they can gain a bonus. And this is exactly what I've been talking about as well with this game. This is what they do. So this person says, I often read in this forum, and I think it is always funny to read answers to the question, if you think the other side has it that much easier, go play as them. And the answer which follows is often, nah, if I play that side, my kill rate, escape rate is always 100%. So it's boring and easy. I've never personally read or heard of that, but if that is a response, I'm kind of surprised. my response really is that, at least when it comes down to, like, you know, obviously Survivor being easier, is that I have played it and I just don't really think it's very interesting. I can't, like, it's still quite easy as well. Like, I've played it enough, but I just don't think it's interesting. But I can't say that it'll be 100% because it's solo queue. So of course, like, my teammates will die probably quicker than I will, and then I'll just end up dead as a result. So it's like, it's just how it goes. Of course, without prove or when prove, okay, follows it could be the economy in everyone. It says, it is funny that some people are trying to hide that they clearly have no sympathy with their opposite side so hard that they don't notice their own lies, which is very accurate for a lot of Survivor players, very hard pressed to find it on a lot of killer players. When it comes down to the forums, that is. DBD would be in a much better state if 5 people would QQ, okay, and each gets a random position. 4 survivor, 1 killer, so everyone can see what the other side has to deal with. I know that are cracked survivors or killers that are playing on easy mode, which I haven't heard of any killer that actually is playing on easy mode, but that it is what it is. So this person says, I feel like people should stop complaining about the way their opponents play in a game, except obviously when it's a matter of cheating. If you play this game casually, then you should expect to constantly lose, thanks to the unmatched matchmaking quality of Dead by Daylight. Exactly. Very true. Very good point. I like that. Oh, okay, let's read this one. It says, while that's true that people should play both sides, I'm still always perplexed by the attitude of players of this game. There is no other game I've ever played where I'm supposed to think, quote, think about how my opponent emotionally feels about how I'm playing and adjust my playstyle to be nicer. It's very true. I've never heard of that at all in any video game I've ever played before this, and apparently, as we continue, I probably won't ever see this again in any other game I play. This is the only game that has this ridiculous, like, brain rot response to say that you want to care about your opponent's feelings. Like, you're playing a video game, you're both competing. And thank you for the Street Fighter response. It says, if I'm playing Street Fighter and I'm playing Guile and my opponent is Zangief, you're gonna bet if I'm going to try and win by throwing 100 plus fireballs while they try to get close to me. I'm not going to empathize with my opponent about how boring that is and make the choice to not throw a fireball, because that will be too mean. Nor am I going to be the Zangief player and expect my opponent to stop throwing fireballs. Nor am I going to get in close with them and start a throw loop and decide maybe I'll just throw them twice instead of doing it because it's mean. It's very true. Guile, I already know in general, his whole thing is I think, if I'm not mistaken, his whole thing is like zoning anyway, if I'm not mistaken. And then if you get up close, he does like his combo or whatever. So my thing is like, why is it that this is the one game on the market that has like this ridiculous thing of, oh, you're playing mean, but any other game is like, everybody is going in with the mindset like, damn, that shit was crazy, but we just got to do better next time. Like, that's wild to me. Let's continue. They say it's very confusing for me for some reason in this game only have I had to think about my opponent and be nice. Like, am I supposed to just play chess, see my opponent hung their queen and think, that'd be too mean to take their queen for free. I'll be nice and not do that. And it's funny because no survivors like that are saying these kinds of comments are actually doing the same for killer. Like, if a killer is getting absolutely mollywopped by the freaking gen speed, like, none of them are they ever gonna stop and go, nah, like, let's just give this guy a couple hooks, bro. Like, that's not fair. Like, they will continue to gen rush the game out. Like, what are they, like, what are they talking about? They say if a playstyle is inherently unfun for boring to play against, it is not up to the players to not play the style for fear of upsetting their opponents. It is on the developers of the game for allowing said style of play to exist, and perhaps, as my Street Fighter example, it is actually designed intentionally to allow for that style of play. That could just be the answer. But you would never cry for the other player just because they did something boring. Yeah, like, you can go against an opponent on a fighting game and go, man, that sucked. But it's like, at the end of the day, you have to understand your own character intimately to go, well, my counters are this, this, and this. Can I do these things efficiently, effectively, and can I do them at the right time which is obviously a part of those two things, to counter that thing. Like, that's just how it works. And if your character doesn't have that, it's like, shit. Like, now I know that either you can continue playing that character and understand that the you know, response to that is, well, shit, that the I have to figure out, you know, how to deal with the counterplay my character has, or you could play a different character and try something else. And that's just how it works. So it's weird. I don't know. Weird game. But anyway, I just want to go ahead and sort of pass the conversation to you guys. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this sort of topic in the comment section. What do you think of the topic at hand? Maybe hit the thumbs up as well. You know, help support the video, of course. And if you really want to support, consider becoming a member on Patreon or on the YouTube, so you have access to a bunch of all this fun content and a bunch of cool little perks and emotes and things and badges and cool stuff. Consider supporting. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay tuned for the members at the end of the video. I wanted to go ahead and thank all my members from Patreon, Crow King 101, YouTube members, Majora Jeff, T.O.N. Dyer, Zero Mocker, Christian, Crow Vader, Noxus, Jack, Dole, a whip. Let's go. Twitch. We also have Cake, Danica, Final Girl Bunny, Zero Mocker, Ginsburg, Zaz, Crow, PB Head, Mr. Mork, and Dole as well. I appreciate all you guys for supporting, and I will see you guys. If you want to become a member, go ahead and join, and I'll see you guys in the next one.